Red Lanterns number 25, written by Charles Soule, art by Alessandro Vitti. So, last issue was the wrap up from the Lights Out story, where for the Red Lanterns, the only major thing is that they were given their own sector to police. One full sector just taken away from the Green Lanterns, given to the Red. So, we open up in sector 1008 on a planet where there's this giant, like, kaiju-sized Red Lantern just smashing around the city. We get dueling narrations. One of the sides says, like, oh, this is Etro. He's the last of his kind. His people were all killed off by a much smaller race that, like, hunted them. He was forced into hiding, and now that he's got a Red Lantern ring, his rage is getting revenge for him today. And the other narration says, like, this is Etro. His species was consuming one of the most crucial natural resources, and the people on the planet did everything they could to, like, negotiate and try to make it work with their people, but in the end it just completely broke down. And so to save the planet, Etro's people had to be killed, but now Etro's taking his vengeance. So we cut over to I'm just going to call it the Red Lantern ship. It has another name, the Calvar, but it's the Red Lantern ship. And we see that all of the Red Lanterns are just pouring alcohol into Zilius Ox's mouth because he's just able to take it, until eventually they're throwing, like, bottles in there as well. And he's like, guys, I'm okay with liquid, not the... And so he throws up, and then it's because it's the red, like, nitrous... What's it called? I can't remember the term, but, you know, it burns through the floor. And he's like, I'll clean that up. I'll fix that. So Rancor is talking to Guy Gardner, and basically he's like, hey, sorry to hear about Oa. That was kind of your home planet, right? He's like, no, my home planet's Earth. I just worked at Oa. Like, you got to keep track of your home planet. It's important. So at that point, whatever his name is, the brain one, he comes in and he's basically like, hey, why are we partying? Atrocitus wouldn't approve of this. And Blaze is like, Atrocitus is gone, man. Screw him. It's Ratchet. That's what it was. Screw that, Ratchet. We're all just going to have some fun now. That's what the Red Lanterns are about. And then Guy comes up and he's like, actually, you know what? We do have one job we need to do. We're now in charge of a sector, and not just any sector, sector 2814. And at that point, Rancor is essentially just kind of the idiot for this issue. And it's specifically so that they can explain all these space terms and, like, how the like sectors work out and stuff like that. But they basically explain 2814 is the sector with Earth in it. It's just this cut up section of space, and now we are the law of the area. So that's what it's going to be. And at one point they basically say, like, oh yeah, well, we have sector that. It makes sense because the Red Lanterns are like 2/5 human. So yeah, that makes sense. And then Rancor points out like, well, it used to be more because Dexstar was from Earth too, right? And Scalix points out, like, oh, well, we better hope that he doesn't come back because Dexstar's totally going to kill Guy Gardner. He's like, I'm not worried about a cat. And he's like, you should be. That's the meanest cat I ever saw. Speaking of which, out in space, Dexstar is still hauling around Atrocitus, and Atrocitus is kind of just getting real emo. He's just like, I keep on trying to run the Red Lanterns, and they keep on bad things happening. That's like, why do I even try? And then Dexstar's like, oh my god, shut up. You are Atrocitus. Be enraged. Stop being a little bitch. He's just like, you're right. I will be enraged. Anyway, I sent out some rings before I was deposed. Maybe we should try finding one of those, because I have a much better chance of ripping a ring off a newbie than one of my experienced guys. So Dexstar senses where one is, and it's, of course, that giant kaiju guy. But they don't know that, so they head down to the planet. We see Ratchet just, like, looking at Zilius Ox passed out in a drunken stupor. And it looks like his ring is trying to leave his body. And he kind of just, like, wills it back into place. He's like, no, just hold on. I'm not done yet. Hold on. And so he goes and talks to the rest of the group. And he's like, hey, everyone. So I've been thinking. Everyone in the universe will still think that the Green Lanterns run Sector 2814. Unless we make a big, like, display of it. We need to show them that the Red Lanterns are in charge. And, like, what our decrees are. And so Guy points out, like, okay, well, what even are decrees? And it's like, well, it's basically do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt anybody. And he's like, all right, yeah, that's good enough. So Ratchet points out, like, okay, but it's not good enough. The Green Lanterns were always reactive. We need to be active. We need to be proactive and stopping people before they do things. But if we're going to make a statement, I got one guy who I think is great. He's in Sector 2814. His name is Jen Sui. He's essentially an evil dictator. His planet had 2 species on it, and his species has completely enslaved and subjugated the second species. And once he has exhausted the natural resources on his planet, he started constructing a Dyson sphere around the star in his system. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's so evil. And Rancor's like, I don't know what that is. And he gets the explanation and he's like, oh, it's like a Death Star. Okay, got it. No, that sounds evil. So we cut back over to Atrocitus and Dexstar real quick. Etor, or whatever his name was, is just sitting in the rubble of this city, just looking like, oh God, what have I done? And Atrocitus is like, okay, yeah, that might be a bit too big, but you know what? I have an idea. Fly me up there. So they fly up next to the guy and says, I'd like to speak to him. We don't get the rest of that, but I'm sure we will. So the rest of the gang is cleaning up after the party. Like, we just see them putting away like cans and stuff. And they start saying, okay, so what's the plan? How do we take out this Gen Sui guy? And it's like, okay, here's the plan. We're going to go in there. We're going to take his second in command, and then that'll draw him off planet, and then we can attack him while he's in the defense position. And it's like, okay, how do you intend we do that? And Blease pipes up saying that the pirate who originally owned this ship was actually friends with this guy. And it's like, okay, well, how does that help us? And it turns out Rancor is able to use his constructs to make disguises, basically, which I remember that being a thing, but I didn't know it worked for just anybody at all. I thought it was like one specific guy. So regardless, they say, okay, so that's the plan. We're going to fly into the planet. We're going to get up close to this guy. And then when he's least expecting it, we'll attack him. So they get down the planet, and this guy welcomes the pirate as an old friend. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, come. We've got a whole show with these slaves. Isn't it great? And he keeps on talking about, like, oh, yeah, no, this enslaved species, like, they're the worst. They're vermin. They're awful. We eat them sometimes. In fact, Pirate Guy, I remember you loved eating them. And by the way, the name's Pirate Guy is Barg. I may or may not remember that next issue. But regardless, he's like, oh, yeah, hey, Pirate Guy, Barg. Remember how much you loved eating them last time? Have I got a treat for you? And he walks Barg and all of the rest of the Red Lanterns who were there down into a lower level. And he's like, oh yeah, I know exactly what Barg's been craving. And he opens up the door, and on the other side is the real Barg. And he says he's been craving revenge. So it turns out Barg survived, and now the Red Lanterns are trapped in enemy territory where nothing is working out. So yeah, this is going to go well. I think it is a bit dense. I do think there's a lot to this issue that doesn't need to be there. For instance, the entire explanation of like how sectors work and stuff like that. I get for someone who like may have just jumped onto this book, it could be useful, but like they gave the whole shebang that I kind of just glossed over. And then they gave a whole shebang as well on what a Dyson sphere is, which again, you can just say things and then if your audience knows it, they know it. And if they don't, like they can look it up. This is a Dyson sphere is just a thing. You don't have to explain, like people can Google that. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little iffy for me and how dense it is, but it sets up a good conflict. I'm interested in it. And honestly, I'm a lot more interested in what Atrocitus and Dexstar are doing elsewhere. Cause that's just an interesting plot of like, can Atrocitus basically talk the ring off of this guy? Maybe. He seems real emo. So yeah, I'm going to give this one a flat 7. But I am looking forward to the next issue or two. I want to see how this shapes out because it's essentially the Red Lantern's first mission as a peacekeeping entity, and boy, has it gone poorly.